Sacramento, which is one of the 30 or 40 working groups or chapters around the United States. And as you probably know, it's people over 60 for the most part who are deeply concerned and active on issues surrounding the climate and democracy. I'm speaking to you from Sacramento, California, which is former and current Nisenan land. And I did post the agenda in the chat, and I'll post it one more time because if you logged on just a second ago, you might not be able to see it. So it might pop up a few times in the chat. And we do use the chat a lot, so feel free to, ask questions there or whatever. So our meeting tonight is, our theme is Get Out the Vote, which is kind of new for us. And we'll be addressing this issue from a number of different angles for the next 8 months, probably. So I'll welcome a guest speaker, and then the rest of the meeting will be an introduction to some new team leads, and then a call from volunteers from our existing team leads, and that'll give you all a chance to see if you're not involved in Third Act or you're thinking about getting involved in new ways. It's a way to learn about what we do and what's coming up. And we can keep you busy in all sorts of ways, in front of the computer or in person or writing letters or, protesting, all kinds of things. I do like to start these meetings with a little bit of good news because I know if you read the newspapers, often the news about climate and democracy, for that matter, is not always the best. So when we met in January, some of us were considering going back to Washington, D.C. for 4 days of civil disobedience in front of the Department of Energy as a protest for the expansion of some liquid natural gas pipelines, 17 in fact, which were proposed to be built mostly along the Gulf Coast. And if all were built, they would basically eliminate any of the really wonderful effects of the Inflation Reduction Act, which, as you know, is some of the biggest climate change legislation that has ever been passed in the United States. And I'm happy to tell you that we didn't have to go to Washington. Bill McKibben, one of our founders, used his, his connections in the Capitol and said, we're going to have 500 people, old people, show up in rocking chairs for 4 days.
I love it.
And we're not going anywhere. And just, the threat of the optics of something like that, as well as, many other organizations. It wasn't just Third Act. At the very least, it caused a delay in approving those licenses. So we really can do a lot if we, put our minds to it and if we work together. And I think that's a lot of what tonight's meeting will be about too. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Marcia Killian, who's with Sister District. She's going to be one of the speakers for tonight's meeting. And Marcia, I'm really sorry, I think I misplaced the introduction. So could you introduce yourself and your colleagues? And
Okay.
we're really looking forward to your talk.
Okay. My name is Marcia Killian. I have previously been an organization development consultant, but I also am a portrait artist and had my own gallery. And I designed a training program, a yoga program for Parkinson's clients. So that is kind of a varied and wild, different background. But I think the common theme is that I've always looked for a way to creatively make the world a better place. I'll tell you later how I got involved with Sister District, but I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues who are here tonight. Phyllis, can you say hi or wave your hand so they know who I'm talking about?
Hi.
Phyllis is our district captain. I call her the herder of the cats. She keeps us all moving in the same direction in a very kind and caring yet assertive way. So thank you for coming, Phyllis. And Brittany, you want to say hi? Brittany is going to be my tech person tonight. She's the head of our fundraising component. She's a great team builder. She's got lots of data and is highly motivational, especially to me. So thank you guys for coming. How many of you are familiar with Sister District? Nobody?
No.
Okay. All right. Then I got a lot to say then. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for the important work that you're doing. We recently did a strategic planning with our organization's leadership, and I asked people what was the big motivator for why they're working in politics. And climate change was a big deal for most of us. And we kind of have this theory that in order to get climate change or any of the other progressive values taken care of, we've got to get the right people in place. And our perspective is that we've got to build capacity in the states. A lot of the rights that are being taken away are happening at the state level, and the rights that are being supported are happening at the state level as well. So Brittany, would you like to put up our first slide? Okay, our second slide. Thank you so much for doing this for me. Okay, so this is kind of what we focus on. We work on electing Democrats in other states up and down the ticket with our money, time, and talent. We build progressive power in battleground states like Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, where we think we can have the most impact. We've got a headquarters team that does all the vetting and evaluation for us of who the candidates are, where we can really make a difference in the small group that we have to work with. When we're not working on campaigns, we are investing in year-round grassroots organizing, which is a lot of get out the vote. It is contacting people when there's not an election and helping them learn the importance of their voice and getting them involved. So right now we have 2 different organizations that we're working with until we get our candidate, which will be rolled out in March. And our state this year is going to be Arizona. So our candidates fight for reproductive freedom and workers' rights, for supporting bold climate action, for advocating for LGBTQ rights, and so much more of our progressive agenda. But before I get too far in the presentation, I'd just like to let you know that I prefer a conversation more than a lecture. So feel free to interrupt me or ask questions at any time, and I would welcome that. Okay, next slide. So this is our leadership team from last year. And this particular photo was taken at a house party. That's our candidate, La Charisse Aird, in the center. So we try to have our candidates come out so that people can meet them. It's highly motivational to get everybody to want to work with them. So across the country, I think that a lot of rights are being taken away one state at a time, even one school board at a time. And that's where it's all starting, and then they're working up the chain. And what happens in Virginia affects what happens nationwide. And so we're trying to build that pipeline. And we also know that when we get people energized for a local candidate and get them out to vote, that they will oftentimes vote up the ballot. It's not as true when they're voting for the president that they always vote down the ballot. So we get more people voting with that kind of a strategy as well. Next slide, please. So when headquarters vets our candidates, it's quite a lengthy process. They're still working on it right now and have been working on it for months. But part of what the candidates have to do is sign kind of a contract with us that they will work to support the values that we hold dear. And those values are the right to health care for everyone, the promotion of a strong, resilient safety network, social safety network, common sense gun policies, protection of the environment, fairness, justice, and equity for all, and fair districts and the right to vote for everyone. Next slide, please. Brittany, is it stuck?
It's there.
I don't see it. Oh, sorry. It was blue. The last one was blue, so I missed it. So some of our successes. Started in 2016, we've had 177 races across 16 states, and we won 115 of them. We raised a total of 5.9 million in small donations in 2023, which I think is just phenomenal, and reached out to 4.4 million voters in 2023. And that was a variety of ways. It could be canvassing, it could be postcarding, it could be phone banking, all of which we do. And our local little chapter here raised 49,000 and made to close to 35,000 phone calls. So yay, local. Okay, these are out of order. Okay. So this is one of our candidates that we supported last year in Virginia. A wonderful guy named Michael Fagans. It's his first time. He's a veteran. He's a small business owner. I was so impressed with him. He came out of his freshman orientation and he met us all on a Zoom. And he said that he got to meet the governor of Yankin. And he said, I extended my firm handshake and looked directly in his eyes. And I knew that he knew that his agenda was being thwarted because I was in office. And that was a great feeling. And one of the things that he thwarted was a trigger law that was on the books to restrict abortion rights.
Ooh.
And if anybody ever doesn't understand the importance of states and how it impacts all of us, Virginia was the last state in the 16 states of the South that had full reproductive rights. So if that had gone away, there would have been no state in the South. People would have been traveling 4 and 5 states down the line to get services. Okay, next slide. Oh gosh, these are really out of order. Okay. So phone banking. Phone banking is one of the ways that we reach donors. We have got the #1 phone banker in Sister District. This is a celebration where we're celebrating 102,580 calls that they'd made, which is pretty amazing. Our phone bankers, they meet twice a week. We've got people coming. We've got about 8 people coming every Wednesday. We've got about 5 people coming every Saturday. I think a real theme with our organization is that we are as committed to having people connected and feeling a sense of tribe and community as we are in the work that we do. I think it's really important that people have a place where they don't just feel angst and anxiety and worry all the time, but they're actually feeling like they're with like-minded people who are going to roll up their sleeves and make a difference. We've got a core of about 15 people over the past year, and they're doing an average of, let's see, I don't have that information. I did some phone banking. Have some of you done phone banking? No phone makers?
Oh, yeah.
I've done phone banking in the past for Amibera.
Amibera, okay. My daughter phone banked for Amibera. My preconceived notion about phone banking was that it was going to be a lot of arguing with people and that you really had to know your stuff. You really had to be prepared to have all the facts at your hand. And what I found when I phone banked is that, well, first of all, I was surprised that people picked up their phone. I thought nobody did that anymore, and it wasn't just senior citizens who had a landline. And that it was really a wonderful experience to me to help people make a vote plan. People would say, yeah, they plan to vote, and then you say when or where, and they didn't know. And so we could help them do that. I think that was really compelling. Postcarding is something else that we do. We've got about 36 people right now that wrote 2,100 postcards in 2023. And our goal this year is 3,000 postcards. That is kind of a low entry way to get into voter contact. And we're very anxious to have more people phone bank and postcard. So if you're interested in any of these things, feel free to put your information in the chat, and we'll have someone reach out to you. So let's try for the next slide and see what we've got there. Okay, never mind. Go back. So I'm learning Zoom, so bear with me. So postcarding, phone banking, fundraising, and educational presentations are kind of the 4 components that we have. So we have a speaker series that we have about once a month with different topics. I'm hoping that we can get one coming up soon on climate. These are not fundraising events, but just educational programs. We've had some on LGBTQ issues in the school. We had a local professor from UC Davis who wrote a book on the Supreme Court and its dysfunction, who came and spoke. Some people talking about why the states matter and getting that word out there. We've had some book discussions, and then meet the local candidates as well. So I'm very interested in what motivates people to come to political work. My story is that I lived in Rockland, and when Trump was running for election, my husband was just sure that that would never happen, that rational minds would not let that happen. And I was just shocked when it did happen. And then my neighbors kind of came out of the woodwork and said hateful things that they would have been ashamed to say before. And that kind of motivated me. And I moved down to Sacramento and got involved in Sister District. I think the thing that I like the most about Sister District is that it's a positive environment, and I can stay away from the headlines, and I can feel that I'm making a difference. I do a lot of reading about persuasion. I don't think that we can leave the other team on the sideline and just write them off. So next slide, please. I don't know if any of you attended the Indivisible series that they've got going on right now about persuasion, but this guy whose name I cannot say, I liked this quote, and I thought it was really, really indicative of what Sister District is about. He says, we need to hold the truth that this is a dire time, but if we don't build a movement that's compelling, attractive, and joyful, we can't sustain it. If I can't dance, I don't want to be a part of your movement. We take that really seriously. And a lot of our fundraising is around having really fun events where people get to know each other and can talk one-on-one and just have fun while they're donating and sharing their wealth and their energy and their time for the cause. So I'd like to share with you some of the events that we do. Brittany is in charge of this. And so these are some that we had last year, and a lot we're going to have repeat. This is our Yoga in the Park program. People pay a certain amount to attend, and then we get donations, usually far and above that. It's held in Land Park on Fridays, generally once a month in the summer. We almost always go to lunch afterwards where there's a lot of political discussion, and just have a great time getting to know each other. Next slide. One of the other fundraisings that we do, this is Mary Utrig. She is a big hiker and she has given us these guided, curated mural walks, which is another outdoor activity where people can donate and also have a good time. And then there's usually lunch afterwards. Okay. Another event that we do is our day hikes and walks to see the bald eagles out in Folsom. Brunch and Bunko. That is one of our fearless leaders, Julie Chapman, who is in charge of our logistics, and she has a lot of these events at her house out in Citrus Heights. You might see there's a theme through these photos that we always have good food. And I think she's pouring mimosas. What was that? We had an Elvis Day poker party for those of you who like poker. The goal is to try to have different activities that will attract different types of people and that they can bring their friends who are engaged in those activities. We've also encouraged people who have a hobby or a special interest to hold smaller fundraisers in their own homes and with their own friends to expand the group that we have in our donation pool. Okay, next slide. We have a donor who has a beautiful, huge backyard, and she offered it to have a jazz concert and an auction at her house a couple summers ago, and that's what you're seeing there. We have a live auction each year. Those pictures are a couple of things that were auctioned. Michael Fagan was the recipient of that. We had a place in Hawaii, a place in San Francisco, a lot of really cool items that people bid on and raised quite a bit of money. Okay, next. So this is my favorite event that we do, and we hope to have both candidates out this summer. We were able to do that last summer. Darren Camilleri was the first one on the left. He's from Michigan. One of the stories that I like so much about Daryl is that he's really practical and he listens to his constituents. He was a representative in an area that had a railroad train going right through the middle of town. And on one side was the hospital and the schools, and on the other side was a large population. Kids were crawling under the railroad tracks to get to school, and ambulances were sitting at the railroad, unable to get to the hospital. So he had a tunnel built. So I'm thinking he saved lives. He's building his support at the grassroots, moving up the state, doing what people need. Michael Fagans is the one in the middle. He's the one that I said was a veteran. He's doing a lot of work with helping veterans get jobs programs. He's also a tech person who does strategic work with preventing assaults on our structures. And then the one on the right is La Charisse Aird. Both those two on the right are from Virginia. She is a candidate who has some experience and then lost her election. And we came back in and she won this last fall. So next one.
Marsha, do you think you're about done?
I am just about done.
Okay,
Is
great.
that my time?
A minute or two, yeah.
Okay, these are just more photos of our events of Meet the Candidate. This is the group at one of our Meet the Candidates. And I don't think that I have to even give this quote to this crowd because you were all very engaged, but I thought this was really compelling that people often say with pride that they're not interested in politics. They might as well say they're not interested in standard of living, my health, my job, my rights, my freedoms, my future. If we want to keep control of our work and our lives, we must be interested in politics. I think everybody is here, and I am encouraging you to consider working with Sister District. And if you have interest, put your name and your phone number or your contact information in the text, and we will contact you.
Thank you so much. That was, it's really exciting to hear all of the ways that third actors can be involved. And we'll follow up with some information in the newsletter that comes out about weekly about sister district activities, including a fundraiser. I believe it's planned for March.
We have a date on that. It's going to be March 17th from
Okay.
12 to 2 at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Sacramento. And I'll give you a blurb on that for your newsletter.
Perfect. So if you like, you can put your name in the chat and I can forward your contact information to Marcia if you want to learn more about phone banking or postcarding with Sister District. Marcia, do you have an email you want to put in the chat?
Sure, I'll do that right now.
Okay. Thank you. You know, one thing I had meant to say at the beginning of the meeting was that we can do a lot, as we heard at our last meeting from Lawrence McDonald. We as individuals can do a lot regarding the climate, but it's really our elected officials who hold so much power over carbon emissions, over expansions of freeways, over all sorts of things. And this is such a critical year to get the right elected officials in office to protect our climate and our environment. And Sister District will be a great way to help us with that, as will, I'm segueing into a new topic on the agenda, and that's introducing the new team leads. And so, you know, probably from past meetings and reading the newsletter that Third Act has been registering students in high schools and doing demonstrations at banks that lend to fossil fuel companies. But I think for the first time in our 2-year history, we have a new team, and it's the Get Out the Vote, or GOTV team. And Barbara Washburn and Karen Randalls have graciously stepped up for this year to lead that new team. And it's very, very new. So I'm not going to put Karen too much on the spot, but maybe Karen, if you could just say a few words, maybe introduce yourself and.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Karen Randalls, recently retired from California EPA. I worked on climate change indicator reports, so I know a lot about climate change in California. We develop metrics, both biological and physical metrics. And Barbara Washburn was also in the same office that I worked in, and she's also a scientist and did a lot of water issues, and she knows a lot about a lot of things. So she's a great asset, and she's not here tonight. We're just getting up to speed, learning a lot. I'm really impressed with what you're doing with the sister district. So maybe we can learn some, about postcarding and canvassing and fundraising from you. So we're just kind of an open book right now. So
We'd love to work together with you.
great.
For sure.
Thanks, Karen. We're really excited about what's coming. There are a lot of opportunities to collaborate with the San Francisco Bay Area Working Group of Third Act. I think Karen and Barbara are kind of looking at all the opportunities, and there are many for us to get involved. So stay tuned, and we'll be hearing more from Karen and Barbara on that. Our other new group is the writers group. And as you know, there's just all kinds of ways we need to get information out about both the climate and democracy. And the lead of the new group is Faith, who is on the meeting, I think. Faith, can you say a few words about yourself and your plans for your group?
Well, unaccustomed to public speaking, but I'm new to Third Act, and I think I'm capable of expressing things in letter form or other written forms succinctly and hopefully uh, softly enough to be persuasive. So I'm looking forward to uh, working with some very, very smart people and, you know, trying to keep abreast of uh, the issues related to climate change, you know, within our area and outside of our area. You know, there's a lot of territory yet in California that's not covered by Third Act chapters, I think. So anyway, I'm looking
Absolutely.
forward to this.
And you already have a group of 5 or 8 folks that you're working with, right?
Right. We had a Zoom the other night, and that was Patricia and Laura and well, Nancy. And you know, we're going to have a really good group. And also Jim Anderson emailed me afterwards and said he would like to continue working with us too. So I think there will be other people. Um, Linda Robathan from Reading.
Oh, that's right.
Now she couldn't join the meeting, but she volunteered also to work with us. So um, it's going to take me a while to get oriented to, you know, what's the best way to approach this. The starting with letters to the editor, as you know, that's a good strategy, but I think we can develop some other pieces and, you know, like a hit list, not
Mhm.
only of our local politicians, but of some, you know, activist groups. So, you know, that's something to think about. And also, I don't know what Third Act has going on in that area anyway. You know, you must maintain a mailing list, you know, so maybe if you looked at the list of who's getting the newsletter,
Mhm.
you know, and then try to expand beyond that to other organizations, maybe. Anyway, I'm sure that there's a lot of possibilities, and there's a lot of very smart people in this group, so I'm looking forward to meeting a lot more of them.
Wonderful. So if you are interested in joining the writers group, I think Faith's ready for more volunteers because the team's off and running. So you can put your name in the chat, or Faith, would you mind putting your email in the
Oh,
chat so people can
sure. Let me
contact you?
see here. Okay,
And you can learn more about what they're doing.
sure.
All right. So we also have some established teams that have been going on for quite a while, and they're always doing something interesting and exciting. And while I know these once a month meetings on Monday night are a thrill, really the work happens, and you know, at kind of at the team level. It's where you meet people either, you know, remotely or in person and actually get something done. And so I would, if you're not yet a member of a team, I'd really encourage you to join one because it's just, at least for me, that's where I feel the most satisfaction when I'm getting out and doing something, whether it's a bank protest or writing a letter to the editor or, um, you know, lining up to say, support this bill at the state legislature. There are just lots and lots of ways to get involved. So we have, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes for, I guess, 5 different teams to report. And we're going to start with Marianne and the senior to senior team.
Hi. So, yeah, I am Linda Urquhart, jointly organized the senior to senior group that we have here in Sacramento. And for the last almost 2 years now, we've been going to high schools in the local area. Excuse me. We've been to about 6 different school districts in the greater metropolitan area. Also, we have been to Folsom and to Elk Grove. So we branch out, but we are also sensitive to the fact that people can't drive too far away, especially in the kind of weather we're having and so on. So to expand our group, we're sort of at a limitation, but I've contacted every school district and almost every high school in Sacramento. And some we hear back from and some we don't. We hear back a lot from Sacramento City Unified, and we have been to those schools in the last year and a half. And this academic year, since the beginning of September, we've probably collected a little bit over 800 different student registrations that we've turned into the registrar's office. We were very active in the fall, and then in January, we organized with the county, and a mock election project was undertaken, wherein the county ran the mock election, and we at Third Act were there in the schools, in multipurpose rooms, libraries, gyms, registering students to vote. It wasn't as effective as our normal program, because the students were able to kind of escape from us as they filled in their ballots and turned their ballots in, and then they went kind of en masse back to class. Where when we run our program, we are in the classroom with the teacher, and the students are in their desks as sort of a captive audience. And so we're able to pass out the forms, and we give them a pep talk for about 20 minutes. And I have to say, I was at the beginning of the meeting here, there were questions about the youth and how to talk to them, but they're high school students, generally seniors. Some of them are checked out, some of them never checked in. Just, a minority, but nevertheless, if it's first period, they may have their head on their desk, and if the teacher doesn't get them to sit up, I'm not in a position to tell them to sit up and listen. But I mean, it's just a typical teenage type of environment, and no one is there to embarrass you or to challenge you. If you can get them to respond to you, is really you're really doing well. But I would say a good majority of them are looking at your eyes and they are listening. So with that, our pep talk is pretty invigorating. We have a script for it, and so if you're new to this, put your name in the chat, and I will make sure that you'll get a script. Everyone who is in our group has the scripts. We have a script for the pep talk and a script for filling out the form, and we lead the students through filling out the form step by step. Some of them are second language speakers, and so we take our time with helping them understand, finding that some students don't know what a signature is. They haven't signed their name very often, and so they'll put down their first name but not their last name, or they'll give initials. So we really do have to kind of focus on helping the students through the form. And we are not as active at the moment because we've seen so many schools in the fall and in January, but I do have about 18 emails out to principals and social science teachers, and I'm just waiting to hear back from them. And so we'll let you know. Again, put your name in the chat. I'll put my email in the chat, and you can just let me know if you want to know more about us. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. Next, we'll hear from the Connections and Actions team. Is that going to be Goli or?
Hey, I can speak about it. Raylene, are you on? Because she was also gonna say something. I couldn't decide. Okay, well, our team does a lot of different things. We collaborate with other organizations in town, and we also have our own bank demonstrations. We have we go to farmers markets to inform people and tell them about that there are things that you can do. We have right now we have what's coming up is a thing we're going to be doing. It's called Insure Our Future with other organizations. And that's going to be basically rising up a whole week's worth of demonstrations, writing letters, emails to companies that insure fossil fuel operations to say, hey, we know what you're doing, you need to stop. And that's actually coming up very soon. And I don't know if Maureen is willing to say a few words. But if you're interested, we do a lot of. Okay, great. So I won't say more about that.
Yeah.
Raylene, if you want to pipe in to say any more. And we meet usually on Mondays. Our next one is coming up at 4 o'clock next Monday. And if you're interested, put your name in the chat for us.
And the Zoom link for your meetings is also in the newsletter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Goli. Raylene, did you want to add something?
I will add something once Maureen speaks, then I can just add a
Okay.
short something. How will that be?
That'd be perfect. Maybe that's, so we'll
Great.
just go a little bit out of order of the agenda. Maureen, do you want to say, maybe explain to people what Insure Our Future is and why it's important?
Yeah, it's a global coalition that I've been working with for a couple of months. As the name suggests, the focus is on insurance companies and their complicity in enabling oil and gas projects worldwide. As I've learned more about the organization, it's become increasingly clear to me that insurance companies are a strategic target for our collective activism. When you think about it, there's three requirements, three things that a fossil company needs to get in order to make their project happen. And those are insurance, funding, and permits. So insurance is a key pillar to these fossil projects moving forward. Not only do insurance companies underwrite fossil projects, but they also invest billions of dollars of our premiums that we pay them back into these very same planet-destroying fossil companies. US insurers have over $582 billion invested in fossil fuels, with almost 90 billion in coal alone. Now, if that doesn't kind of get you going, I don't know what might. Insure Our Future has demonstrated that insurance companies are movable. For the past 10 years, since 2015, Insure Our Future has been successful in getting close to 40 insurers, excuse me, worldwide to restrict coverage for coal projects. Now, remember, this is a global company, I'm sorry, a global coalition of organizations. And they're working all over the world on all these awful fossil projects. In addition, they're reporting restrictions on an increasing number of oil and gas projects. So they're being successful in moving these insurers to restrict their coverage for some of these awful projects. As a result of this concentration of insurance companies, because now it's hard for these fossil companies to get insurance, they're facing escalating rate increases, and that could make new projects unviable. And that's our goal. That's what we want to do. Now, here's the really sad news. US companies fall far behind their European peers in this regard. They continue to provide a lifeline to fossil fuel projects around the world, not just in the United States. Not one US company has restricted insurance for conventional oil and gas. The Insure Our Future scorecard, which I'll drop in chat in a little bit, provides detail on how insurance companies rank worldwide, both in underwriting and investing in fossil fuel companies. The most egregious US companies are AIG, Chubb, Hartford, Travelers, and Liberty Mutual. Insure Our Future has kicked off a global week of action starting February 26th, going through March 3rd. There are several key ways we can all take part. The first one is Raylene has been instrumental in organizing a letter and email writing campaign that will span the entire week, the entire period. And she'll be providing more information as we dial in the specifics and right after I get done here in a couple of seconds. So the first way is the letter writing and email campaign. The second way we can get involved is there will be a demonstration in San Francisco on Thursday, the 29th at One Post Plaza from 11 to 1 p.m. And that location is very convenient to BART. And also if you took the ferry over, very convenient to the ferry building. There'll be a host of supporters there, including Rainforest Action Network, Sunrise Project, Third Act, Extinction, and Science Rebellion. Our goal is to educate the public and put pressure on the nearby Chubb and AIG employees. Their offices are a block apart there. We hope that people will come to support this effort. We need people to banner, flyer, chant, letter write, and so on. Lastly, Fridays for Future and 350 SAC are organizing a demonstration in Sacramento at some point during this week. The location and date are still being established, but they have requested third actors to support this action. And once we get more information on that, we'll make sure everybody gets that information. So now Raylene, I think, has got more information on the
Thank you, Maureen.
team.
So, hi, everybody. I'm really excited because we have an opportunity as third actors to really impact Chubb and AIG to do letter writing, to do emailing and social media, to impact their platforms and send as many letters and as many emails during this week. It's 1 week, and it is an opportunity to let travelers, AIG, any new fossil fuel, any new, I'm sorry. Projects. I couldn't think of a name. Any new projects. So I'm going to put my name in the chat, and I'm hoping that the new writers, Faith, I'll contact you, and any of the new writers that can help write letters, and anyone that's interested in doing emails, if you can contact me, then we can get started during the week of the 26th to March 3rd. And I'm really excited to work with you all. And again, it's a really wonderful opportunity to really jam all of the insurance companies' mailboxes and let them know what we think about what they're doing to our planet and the future of our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Raylene, Maureen, and Goli. That's just, it's incredibly exciting. When we think about how to impact climate change, I don't often think about insurance companies, but clearly from what Maureen said, they're critically important. And Maureen invited me to a meeting a few weeks ago where people from all over were telling us how successful they've been in other countries. Australia is an example where they actually through public pressure, they convinced an insurance company to stop insuring an oil field there. And so this really is a possibility, but we all have to participate. So I encourage you to get in touch with Raylene, and we'll also have something in the newsletter about how you can get involved during that special week, that Ensure Our Future Global Week of Action. So turning to a very local, or at least a California-wide issue, Ruth, do you want to tell us what's happening with SB 252?
Sure. So many of you know that we have been following SB 252, which is a bill that calls on PERS and STIRS to divest from fossil fuels. And so this bill has tried to get through the legislature once already. Last year, it failed to get through the Assembly. This year, just this past year, it passed through the Senate. and is now before the Assembly Public Employees and Retirement Committee. And will be heard sometime late spring, probably early summer. What's really important for us and exciting is that one of the 7 members on the committee is Assembly Member Stephanie Wang, who is in District 10, which starts right near the pocket and goes all the way down to the border of Sacramento County. So mostly all of South Sacramento. So it's really important that we educate her. We've had Third Act members. We met with her in November. She was very non-committal. She actually takes, last year she got $28,000 from fossil fuel interest. So she's going to be a tough person to move. But the more that she hears from her constituents, especially PERS and STIRS members, we think, who knows? We've got to give it a try, because if the bill doesn't get out of this committee, it's dead. So we have to just put every ounce of our effort. We hope to be tabling at the farmers market in Elk Grove to get people from her district to send her emails and letters. We met last Tuesday evening. We went to one of her open houses and had a chance to talk to her chief of staff and to her legislative director. And they just need to hear from as many constituents as possible. As I said, especially those who are PERS and STIRS members. So please, if you want to join our effort, and it can be as simple as writing a letter or calling, even better, going to meet with her. We can help you organize that. We'll draft the letters, we can draft the emails, or come join us as we're tabling at the farmers market and collecting as many signatures as possible. And just feel free, I'll put my email in the chat. And let me know. We could certainly use your help. Thanks.
Thanks, Ruth. I always forget how many billions of dollars the CalPERS and CalSTRS pensions have invested in fossil fuel companies.
Collectively, they have $15 billion in fossil fuels. PERS and STIRS, thanks for that. PERS is the largest pension fund in the country and one of the 10th largest in the world. So just imagine what PERS could do. PERS has $482 billion in assets. And imagine what they could do if they use those assets to support all the transitional energies that are going to be necessary. They have recently declared, have passed a plan where they're going to put $100 billion into transitional energy by 2030. So that's a good first step, but they're not, at this point, they are not agreeing to divest from fossil fuels. Their argument being that it's not fiduciarily responsible, but there are now many, many very large pension funds, including the state of New York, the UCs, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Netherlands Pension Fund, that are divesting because, in fact, it is fiduciarily irresponsible to continue to be vested in fossil fuels.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is another way that, we can really make a difference. California is such a leader in climate, and this can be one more way to do that. And thanks for leading the charge, Ruth. You've been amazing. I get to watch Ruth. I set up meetings and take notes and things, and go to Taco Tuesday with Assemblymember Gwen. So, well, that's great. I think that's about it for tonight for our formal meeting. Thanks to all of you who put your name in the chat or who've contacted the various team leads. And thanks especially to Marcia Killian and Sister District for joining us. For those of you who haven't joined us in the past, we if we have a more free-flowing meeting from 7 to 7:30, we don't even call it a meeting, it's called an after party. And it's just a way to chat about issues and be a little bit more interactive, because this is a lot of one-way communication. We're kind of doing a lot of announcements and things. But I think we will have the candidate for Congressional District 7 join us at about 7 o'clock. His name's David Mendel. And we can talk about other candidates or other get out the vote strategies. So for those of you who have to leave and, carry on with your evening, thanks so much for joining us. And I hope you can get involved with us soon if you're not already. And if you want to stick around for a while and hear David and chat with the folks who stay behind, we might take a 1 or 2 minute break, but join us at 7 or 7:01 and we'll see what transpires at the after party.
Diana,
Yeah.
are we going to be talking about the candidates? Most of the time is Lee Miller here too?
I don't think she could make it.
Okay.
But we can, I don't know if Cynthia has anything to share, or Lori, you're really in touch with maybe the Our Revolution slate. I don't really, oh, look, David's here already.
I'll put David on.
Okay, maybe can I defer to you or Goli to introduce him? And
Goli, would you like?
I'd be happy to. I don't have his bio in front of me, but I've known David Mendel for quite a while. He's a human rights attorney. He's been involved with Jewish Voices for Peace and many, many other local organizations. He's also, he lives at co-housing, so he's involved with that. Sorry, David, I wasn't prepared to give a full. So if anyone wants to add anything else, but you're welcome to tell us about yourself more. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm hearing sounds like chipmunks after I speak. No? No? Okay, now it went away. I don't know what that was. Thank you, Goli and Lori and some other people here I recognize for inviting me. I am, as was just said, running for Congress, District 7, which is currently represented by Doris Matsui, has been for 18 years. And before that, her husband, who she succeeded when he died, Robert Matsui, for 27 years. So it's been 45 years of Matsui's representing us in the district. The district has changed quite a bit. It now goes all the way to the south end of the county, including Elk Grove, which it didn't previously. So there's a lot of new people in it. And it does not include anything north of the American River, except a little pocket of Campus Commons, I think. The immediate reason that this came up, and it was very, very much a last minute thing, was that people were very upset about what was happening in Gaza back in October, November. As Goli mentioned, Jewish Voice for Peace is a group I've been involved with for a long time. It's a group that supports Palestinian rights and a future of justice, equality, and dignity for Israeli Jews and Palestinians in that country. But lots of other groups were also wanting to meet with her and to talk about what was happening in Gaza. She wouldn't meet with us. Some of us spent a whole afternoon in her office saying, well, we will leave when she agrees to meet with us. And we ended up getting let out very peacefully. I'm not sure if it quite counts as an arrest or not, by the Homeland Security cops who eventually came to the office and escorted us out and then decided not to cite us. This was back in very early November. So shortly after that, people said, well, we're tired. On top of all that, we're tired of waiting for her to retire. Not that anybody should automatically retire when they get to be a certain age, but people have noticed, I'm not that young either, but 7 or 8 years younger than she is, that that she has really been absent from the district. She doesn't do town hall meetings. We're not the only constituents that she doesn't meet with. She doesn't. Her office is very sequestered in this 12th floor of the federal court building that's hard to get into. And right now, they don't let. Since we spent that afternoon in her office in early November, they don't let anybody go up there. Sometimes somebody from the staff comes down and meets with people. But that's about it. So she's very much absent. She does not exercise a lot of leadership, and she does some local services. She's very active in flood control matters. Whether she has the right policies toward that or not is not something that I'm an expert in. Maybe some of you are more. Can speak to that. I don't know. But in terms of what led us to do this quickly and suddenly was, like I said, Gaza, and she has not been among the sponsors of the ceasefire resolution that was introduced back in early November, nor has she spoken in favor of an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. In fact, she has spoken quite forcefully in support of Israeli policy there, which is absolutely horrific as far as I'm concerned. And I hope most of you have been following that to the certain extent and agree with that. We can talk about it more if you want. But I just prepared a couple of notes about what she has and hasn't done on environmental issues, because I would say, first of all, she is not demonstrably not a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which I think is the core of the people who have progressive values and sponsor and vote for progressive legislation on a whole range of issues. Even the Progressive Caucus, which I think has 90 some members, I didn't check the exact number recently. Not all of them are even all that progressive, I would say, but she's has not sought to join it. The resolution for the Green New Deal, which was introduced first several years ago and again last year by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and is co-sponsored by 96 members of the House, including 28 from California. She's not a co-sponsor of that. That is a resolution, of course. It's not a concrete bill, but it's the idea is to set the tone for doing all sorts of things that really need to be done to confront the climate crisis, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the biggest existential threat to human existence and the health of the planet. So she's not on that. There was another resolution that was introduced early last year, House Conres 37, which went through a whole bunch of declarative whereas clauses about how horrible things are in terms of the environment and the climate crisis, and called on the president to declare an emergency to confront the climate crisis, which would open the doors to doing a lot of things that aren't being done now. And of course, if the political will is not there, but it was a resolution introduced early last year, has 82 co-sponsors, including, there were about a dozen from California. She's not one of those co-sponsors on that bill. There's a bill that was introduced more recently to end the tax subsidies for oil and gas companies. It's called HR 1483. It's relatively new. It only has 17 co-sponsors so far, but 6 of them are from California, introduced by Representative Blumenauer, who's from, I think, from Oregon. She's not a co-sponsor of that one. There's other things that connect with environmental issues. I mean, for one thing, the largest environmental polluter in the whole world is the U.S. military, which has a budget of approximately $1 trillion if you count all the different parts of it. And it's maintaining bases all over the world, maintaining U.S. soldiers in many countries that we don't even know about, supporting dictators, occupations, autocratic regimes, wars all over the place. That's something that's extremely important to me, but it has an environmental effect. Not only is it draining resources from what could be used to really solve the climate crisis in a big way, go a long way towards solving it globally, not just in our country, but it's actually one of the biggest polluters and the biggest polluter and emitter of greenhouse gases in the world is the U.S. military. So she's not supporting. There are several modest bills to reduce the military budget by, for instance, $100 billion, for instance, which is a tenth. It's a symbolic round number, but it hasn't gone anywhere, and she has not supported that. She voted for the National Defense Authorization Act, which basically approves the whole budget. There were a dozen or so California representatives who voted against that because they think the military is too big and too dangerous and doing awful things. But she didn't join them. As there's a proposals out for taxes on Wall Street speculation. You mentioned in your meeting here. I was here for the last 20 minutes or so about how Wall Street is basically, and the whole financial industry is basically continuing to roll merrily along, focused on short-term profits, and that means a lot of pollution, a lot of ignoring the climate crisis, and she hasn't supported things like that. And the last one I'll mention is the Delta tunnels, which almost every single politician from this region has long vocally opposed, for all the reasons that you're probably familiar with, maybe even more than I am, but it sounded like a pretty bad idea to me from the beginning. She finally came out against that about, last month, after saying that she was thinking about it for a long time. So I think you get the message here that she's far from a progressive leader on climate issues or on just about anything else for that matter. I'll just finish by saying that the vast majority of her campaign funding, her campaign funds, come from corporate PACs and the rich people associated with them. The largest single sector is the healthcare industry. I hope all or many of you are as concerned about our healthcare system as I am, that it's this huge for-profit behemoth of insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies, hedge funds that are buying up hospitals and medical clinics, and that we need to have a single-payer public healthcare system that covers everybody, paid for but from public funds, and not and organized as a declared as a human right instead of being organized as a whole profit-making business. So she has the largest sector of her single sector of her corporate donations are from various parts of the healthcare industry, and surprise, surprise, she has not supported the bills for what on the federal level they call Medicare for all. I think that term is falls short, but that's what they call it. So there's lots of other reasons besides Gaza. I will readily acknowledge that was kind of what pushed a lot of people over the edge and pushed me to agree to take this on. We're running a grassroots campaign, trying to raise money. I will stick the website in the chat in just a second, and should have done that earlier before some people had to leave. We definitely we have the final 2-week push is to try to reach the people who we know will not vote for her and will not vote for the only other candidate in the race, who's a token Republican who's not even campaigning, a failed city council candidate from Galt, Tom Silva. They will vote for us if we can get to them and let them know that there's an alternative. We hope, as you know, the California system is the top two go on to the general election in November, so we only need to finish ahead of one or the other of them. And we really are hopeful that we can do that, and we'll really make a campaign out of this with the whole 8 months that follow after that. So I'd welcome any questions. I'd certainly welcome your support. On the website, there's a link for donating, of course, and there's a link for volunteering also. We need some last-minute volunteering, canvassing, phone calling, texting, all those things in the last couple of weeks. The voters that we're trying to get to tend to vote late, so we're going to be working at it up to the last minute. I just saw Arturo raising his hand. Do you want to ask something?
Arturo, you're muted. Can you unmute? Great.
We still can't hear you, Arturo.
put the website in the chat meanwhile. Feel free to go
Yeah,
there. Now,
Arturo, I'm not sure what's going on with yours, but if you can fix the audio, jump in. I'd like to thank you, David, for running. I've been calling Matsui's office almost every day for the last few months to get her to respond to what's going on in Gaza and call for a ceasefire. And I am so frustrated. But I think the bigger issue is that so much of our Congress is corrupt and captured by all the worst of the corporate world. And all these things that we need to do so quickly, getting one good representative an election season is making me crazy. I don't know if I'm opening this up to everybody talking about it, but David, do you have any wise words?
Well, I
Words of
mentioned that.
wisdom.
Yeah, thanks. I agree. There's huge corruption in both major parties, and I've been active in the California Democratic Party Progressive Caucus for the last decade or so. Oh, I'm hearing those chipmunks again.
Yeah, it's Arturo. There's something wrong with his
Well,
audio.
I hear it after I speak, so we'll see. Now it's gone. That's good. And that's been a huge, aside from some of the substantive issues, that's been a huge issue um, for the Progressive Caucus to try to end this corruption. The party takes fossil fuel money, it takes tobacco money, it takes all sorts of other money. And when we say we should stop doing that, they say, well, how are we going to afford our campaigns? Well, I think a lot of people would bang, get together and support a party that does not support accept any of that corporate money. Needless to say, I didn't say it, but our campaign does not accept any corporate PAC money. It's all individual donations, and that's why we are underfunded compared to Doris Matsui. But I mean, we're also fairly new. But that's why we really do need help from people. If anybody's willing to help on that. Yeah, that corruption is awful, and I think it infects both major parties. I sometimes we describe them kind of half tongue in cheek as money laundering machines with ballot lines, and I think that's pretty accurate.
David, there was a question in the chat from Cynthia, and she said, David, you sound wonderful, but I think expect big oil and gas super PACs are going to come after you if they see you as a threat. Do you have any means to confront that? Meanwhile, she wants a yard sign.
Well, of course, we don't have yard signs. We got started so late and with limited budget, and I think yard signs are effective only when there's flooding the neighborhoods and people see lots of them. For the general election after the primary, I'm sure that we will do those. So we'll look for us again after March 5th. Well, you know, what can I say? If even the Israel lobby people, AIPAC, which has vowed to spend $100 million, I think, or even more, to try to unseat some of the good incumbents like Rashida Tlaib and AOC, Jamal Bowman, and some of the others who have challenged Israeli policy. They haven't come after us yet. I think we're still at the first they ignore you stage, and I think from their perspective, I believe and hope that they're making a mistake, and we'll just do the best we can to counter that when it happens by speaking out publicly and sharing the truth with whoever's willing to publicize it. If we get attacked by them or by the fossil fuel industry or whoever, and I know how powerful they can be. I saw how much money they spent as independent expenditures to elect our current state senator when there was a progressive that was running against, not accepting the money, running against them 2 years ago, Dave Jones, whom I supported.
Cynthia, are you trying to say something?
No,
Okay.
David, you're not alone. we have the same thing happening over here in District 4, where our incumbent is not interested in dealing with Israel in any way, and so we're running someone else who's much stronger, and we'll see if we can get a foothold for him. We're so spoiled in Davis. We've had Garamendi for so long, who was a wonderful man, and we're shocked to have a man who's not so wonderful. So we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, the people I know in Davis have been going up to Woodland to
Exactly.
protest outside his office ever since
Yeah.
the Gaza
Yeah,
thing started.
and we're running a candidate against him, but you know, it's an uphill stream because he's been in office for years.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'll just, Arturo, I see the private message you sent me, and I made a note of your phone number, and I will contact you. So thanks for that. Sorry you couldn't get your audio going.
I think a lot of people have concerns because, like, voting for you, David, your name isn't known, and Matsui is a vote blue no matter who person that they recognize. We've got that issue in the mayoral race where Dr. Flo is not well recognized, and I don't know what the secret is, but somehow, I mean, it's media, it's money, it's all kinds of things, but somehow we as the voters need to be brave and vote for the people with the right values rather than who we think is going to win or who has the most advertisements or whatever.
If I may respond to that, and that's
Yeah.
the one thing where we do not have an issue in this race, because like I said, the only other candidate in the race is a Republican who, I mean, even if he were well known and had a good chance of getting in the top two, it's guaranteed that there will be one Democrat in the top two. So there's no danger of being a spoiler role in a heavily Democratic district like this one, and allowing a Republican to win ahead of both Democrats. So the fact that there's a progressive Democrat and a conservative Democrat running against each other, if you like what the progressive Democrat says, there's no danger of electing a Republican by voting for me. In other words, I think that's kind of a horrible product of a way that our system runs, that we often feel like we need to vote for the lesser evil in order to keep the greater evil from getting in. But that in this particular race, that's not an issue at all.
Yeah. And that's something we need to spread the word about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Responses? I mean, one thing that I have real problems with, and then Carol, I think, one thing I have real problems with is voting isn't a personality contest. It is strategic, and it is so critically important. And I'm struggling with the presidential race because Trump, we can't allow Trump. And I know that Third Act is supporting Biden very strongly. I have real problems with Biden, and I am privileged enough to live in California, where California isn't going to go for Trump. But the idea that those are our choices, those two men who are both, I can give you my list of how evil they both are, but this is where we are, just causes me great pain in my heart. And Carol, I'll stop talking all the time.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't actually waiting to talk.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand raised.
I may have raised a hand, accidentally flopping hands, but that's it. I would ask, David, what you would see as a high priority for what you would ask those who want to support you to be doing for you.
Okay, as I mentioned, this is the last 2 weeks of the primary campaign now. We're doing a lot of creative outreach, texting, phone calling, some banners around town, a lot of canvassing. If people are willing to help with any of that, just go to the website, click where it says volunteer, and fill in your information and what you're able and willing to do, and people will get in touch with you. And of course, the other thing is we really do need some money to pay for printing materials, for paying for the few people who are actually working in this campaign full time, who need to pay their rent and have food on their table. So any donations are really welcome, and also please pass that on to folks you know who aren't right here right now, and encourage them to do the same thing, even if they haven't had a chance to meet me or don't know me, based on your recommendation. All that would be great.
Thank you.
And of course, advise your friends and relatives and neighbors on how to vote. Let them know.
Wendy.
We're here.
I just wanted to thank you for being here. You're a friend of my good friend, Stephen Meinrath. And I know you stand for what you say. I mean, you mean what you say, and you stand by it. But
Right.
yeah, and I'm going to vote for you. You can have my vote, and I'll see what I could do as far as volunteering for you. Because I too have been very upset with Doris Matsui. I've written her numerous times, called, not even a response to say she got my email. So I just think that's wrong for a representative. I know you're late in the game and it's going to be a steep hill, but I applaud you for trying. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I mean, just practically speaking, if it looks like Trump has sewn up the nomination, maybe a lot of Republicans won't bother to vote, and they won't be that motivated to vote for local representatives who would not stand a chance in the general election, even if he got second place in the primary. So that's out of our hands, of course, but we need to try to get as many votes as we can so that we can come out ahead of one or the other of them and then carry it on till November. So it is meaningful.
Anything else? Anybody else want to speak? Well, I think this is just about our half hour. Be sure to get your ballots in. That's the very important thing. And let's keep this discussion going about elections and who our representatives are. I would like to see us work on making elections better, or doing that as well.
Does your group ever do actual endorsements, or?
We did.
Oh, you did
We
already.
did our
So it's
first
probably a
one.
process that you couldn't just do it spur of the moment now. Or anything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we did our endorsement of Dr. Flo after putting on a candidate forum and having some discussion. And I think we're the first Third Act group to have done so, because I learned afterwards that they have finally come up with a process, and the process involves filling out things and sending it to Central and getting their okay, and lots. David, maybe we can do that for the after the primary.
That would be great.
Because I think it's really important for our group to take a stand, since we're a 501c4.
Yep, you can.
Diana, do you want to wrap it up, or do you want me to?
Why don't you, Lori?
Okay. We're done. Go home, go do something nice for yourself tonight, and we'll be back to fighting for a better world tomorrow. Good night.